Good day and welcome to Straight Talk with Curtis Gibson. With all the news, social media, and events going on around the world, it can be difficult to keep up with our local candidates and issues. Today, I want to give other parents in our community an opportunity to meet one of the candidates for Polk County School Board and learn a little more about them and what their visions are to guide our school forward. Please help me welcome school board member and candidate for District 7, Lisa Miller.
Thanks for having me, Curtis.
Hey, thank you for coming with us. Yes. So at this time, Lisa, I would like to offer you an opportunity to open up and with whatever statement you would like.
Okay, I'm Lisa Miller. If we haven't met, this is my first term on Polk County School Board. I was a parent advocate for about 10 years in this county before I ran. I ran in 2014 and barely missed it. And we came back in 2018 successful, and we're looking for success again on Tuesday.
That's awesome. Well, we're just going to jump right on in, Lisa.
Okay.
What's one fun fact about you that no one knows?
This one's hard. Okay, let me think. I have maybe two. So okay. I was voted friendliest out of the 680 kids at Winter Haven High School in 1994. So that's pretty, I thought that was fun if you don't know, because sometimes I seem very serious on the dais, but I must have a friendly side, or the kids at Winter Haven thought so. And I've worked since I was 15 years old, and I've had some really fun jobs. And one of them was on Jack Hanna's morning show with the animals at Busch Gardens. And the fun fact about Jack is he doesn't love all those animals, and he's kind of afraid of a lot of them. But I guess those would be fun facts if you don't know me already.
That is pretty cool. Awesome. I did not know about none of that. So I have to ask you, Lisa, why are you running for re-election?
I'm running for re-election to continue to be the voice for all kids on the school board. So, you know, the years of advocacy, I wasn't an education major. I was a public relations marketing major. You can tell by that job experience. And I went into the classroom after my son was born, and I quickly saw the needs of students with disabilities and the teachers that serve them. And I was approached by Mr. Berryman, who was on the board at the time, and complimentary of me always being in the audience and asking questions. And we have about 20,000 kids in this district with varying needs. And he said, nobody has ever ran, and we have nobody on the board with your background. And so I think that is my mission, to be the voice for all kids. So when decisions are being made about budget or policy, that we're really thinking about kids of all abilities.
Oh, wow. Yes, I agree with you. And Lisa, if you are elected for re-election, what will your priorities be?
As a district, I think our biggest priority is growth. We were supposed to start with 110,000 kids. We are at 113, projected to be 116,000 students very quickly. And I think managing that growth, not only with infrastructure, but with recruitment and retainment of teachers, is going to be the biggest focus we have. We're doing something very exciting, the first in the state. We are doing a private-public partnership to build a school out near the Poinciana area. And it will be a lease back. And what that will do is help give us funding up front to help repair our buildings. Because if you don't know, the buildings in Polk County, our school buildings average 50 years plus. And so we just don't have that kind of money coming in capital wise to repair or replace all of them. And this will give us some of those dollars up front while we lease back this building that we're going to have a private company build for us. It's exciting. I know the governor was excited about it. It's the first one in the state. And so I'm happy to be a part of that. We're going to try to manage our growth with the dollars we have. And I think that's going to be our biggest priority.
Oh, that's good to know. And thank you for elaborating on that. Now, I have to ask you this as well. You know, what experiences and skill sets have best prepared you to serve on the school board?
You know, I think not only being an advocate at the state level, you know, sitting on committees with the Department of Education, but working in education law and advocacy for such a long time, running, you know, through delegation members and legislative advocacy resources that we've had. That background is good, I think, to help understand the school board. But also, we own a real estate brokerage. I was broker of record for the entire state of Florida for a company. And so that's helped me on the facility side, especially with buying land with our growth. Having that background is helpful. Being in the classroom, I wasn't in the classroom very long, but I was in there long enough to understand the needs, and having that reflection of the needs of the actual day-to-day, I think is also helpful. So I think it's a combination of several areas.
Oh, wow. Thank you for explaining that as well. Now, what do you see as the primary work of the Board of Education?
The local board, the
Yes.
Polk County board is,
Yes.
okay, our priorities at the county level is to hire the superintendent, the attorney, the auditor, manage that as our staff. We also decide on budgetary issues and make policy. That's what we do at the county level. The state board, they do more of making sure that the districts are in compliance. They make rules to make sure federal dollars that are coming in are being used as intended, along with state dollars, and they work with the laws that are created over in Tallahassee, on the other side of Tallahassee, to make sure that the rule changes at the DOE reflect those laws. So we kind of work in partnership with the state.
Oh, okay. That's good to know, because, a lot of people really don't know the structure of board members, and, typically don't know who they should be reaching out to ask any questions or concerns. Thank you for explaining that of what you guys do. Now, I want to jump into something. And I've heard many community members say that CRT, critical race theory, is divisive and is designed to make people feel guilty about their identity, or identify as an oppressor or as oppressed. Another concern is that we are indoctrinating students, that it is counterproductive to focus on racial issues. So how do we respond as district leaders as yourself?
CRT, came up a few months ago. I had not heard of it. And I tell people, you hear national issues, but if that was happening in Polk County, I would know that someone would be on the phone to me, and I had not heard that. We want our teachers to follow the Florida standards written by the DOE. Unfortunately, they're so micromanaged. I think they understand there's not a lot of leeway in that. I have not had reports of that. Polk County is working. We care about kids, and we care about working to meet the needs of them, along with following state statute. It's just not here. And so if you hear of that, my cell phone is 863-698-6240. And the people that are running on the platform, that people are pushing CRT, when they're asked, where is it happening? Where is the indoctrination? They cannot give specific examples. They've heard about it. They've talked to someone. I am asking, along with the superintendent, if that is an issue that you hear of at your child's school, or you've had that experience, that you reach out and contact us. That is not something Polk County promotes. We've never promoted that. And we won't. And, it's a directive from the state. And before it was a directive, we weren't doing it. So I think Polk County is probably ahead of the game on being compliant in that area. It's unfortunate that that's something we're focusing on. I like to focus on the issues that we are facing every day. And I can tell you that that's not one that's been brought to my attention from people that are working in our schools. And so I invite people to volunteer and to work in our schools and understand what we are doing in Polk County.
Okay, and let me just kind of reiterate and get some clarity. So what you're saying, Lisa, is that CRT has never been brought up at a local level in Polk County School Board.
I have not had a parent call me and say, in my child's class, they were taught a lesson where they felt oppressed. I have never had somebody call and say, this is an issue at this particular school. If there's something that happens, I know our staff would address it right away. It is not something we promote. We've never promoted it. It's never been an issue here in Polk County. I know there's national issues. I know there's Florida issues, and South Florida can run extremely different than Central Florida. I can tell you in Polk County, our teachers are working hard every day for our students, and indoctrinating them is not on the agenda. No one wants, anybody to send I have children. I don't want to send my kids to school and have them feel like anybody's viewpoints are pushed onto them. And listen, District 7 covers a very rural area of Auburndale, Tenor Rock, and Lake Gibson. But you can call if your child doesn't go to those schools, and you can report that straight to the superintendent. I want people to focus on what we are doing. Our teachers love our kids. They are mandated to follow the law. The Department of Education follows the laws that come from the governor's office. We have never, even through the whole pandemic, Polk County has never violated a mandate from the state. And so I think we can take pride in that and assure parents that, yes, that could be an issue somewhere, but that's not an issue in Polk County.
Thank you so much for explaining that. Now, I want to jump to another issue. Last year, Polk County School District removed 16 books from the library because there was a group said they contain pornographic or were otherwise harmful to minors. There was 2 committees that was formed, from my understanding, and they reviewed all 16 books. And the committee recommended keeping all 16 books in Polk County schools. So, but with grade level restrictions on some of them. What is your stance on banning books?
I can tell you that this district, other districts are coming to us for the process that we followed because it was so thorough and we went above and beyond what the compliance level would have been. I can tell you that I've asked this group, and I asked them at the time, to follow the policy we already have in place. So some of these books have been around 30 plus years. Beloved has been around 30 years, Blue Aside probably longer than that. We have a policy in place in Polk County. These books, any of the books, first of all, the committee consisted of a member from that group, and there were only 12 books that weren't unanimously. There were 4 books that were unanimously returned, and there were 12 other books. And so even though, just like the Sheriff Grady Judd or the Sheriff in Indian River, I don't have to like everything I see in those books, but I have to follow policy and the law. And I know what I can do to keep my children from reading books that might not be age appropriate for them. We have to follow policy. I've offered to help this group in Tallahassee. I have a lot of advocacy and legislative experience. The DOE currently has a committee together with different groups around the state, trying to find a system that would work for everyone, whether it's a rating system or some kind of preview system through the DOE. The issue I take with what happened is our policy was not followed. The DOE they went to the DOE, they were not going to pull books. Indian River County did an investigation on some books. They said it's not, unfortunately, it's not breaking the law. And that's what I have to follow. As an advocate for a long time, I wanted to up and change things on emotional responses. That only provides you temporary relief of whatever your issue is. You have to write good policy for it to be systematic and change for long term. And when we start taking books, I know people don't want to hear this, but when we start taking books out of libraries, every fraction will come, and the religious books we have in libraries will be challenged. And so instead of that, we expanded parent choice. Parents can take any book they don't want their child to have exposure to. Now remember, these books are not in curriculum. These books are on your extra time in the library. And if you ask a kid how much extra time they have, it's very little. Our lunches are 20 minutes. So none of this is required, but we still want to be cautious. Some of these books had never been checked out. Some of them, there's only 1 copy in the entire district at one high school. And specifically, this is what I shared with that group. When they couldn't get the DOE to move on it, they couldn't get us arrested for pornography. I don't know if they wanted librarians arrested. I'm not sure if they wanted board members arrested. And remember, what would that have started? Every librarian in the state being arrested? That's not systemic change. That's good Twitter, but that's not a systemic change. I've asked them to follow the policy. So when they couldn't get those 2 entities to do anything, they shopped it around to our small police departments. And what I explained to I think the person that's in charge, or was in charge at the time of that group in Haines City, instead of driving the police department to the police department to try to get our librarians arrested, you could have went 2 more miles down the road and followed our policy. The policy is, if you are a parent at a school, you can challenge any book at that school. It's been done. We've had this policy since the early 80s, if not the 70s. And I've explained and used an example. Kathleen and Lakeland in the mid 80s had Slaughterhouse-5 in their libraries. Parents challenged that book. They did not like the content of the book. Lakeland had a meeting. They kept the book. Kathleen had a meeting and they took the book out. That is our policy. And that is what we need to follow. And I think for systemic change, that's what we need to do. And in the meantime, we can work with the DOE, we can work on legislation to help fix it systemically for whatever the issues are. But what you saw happen was the list kept coming. The list kept coming. There were another 50 books. Judy Blume was in the list. Like, it was taking our time away from things that we're really handling in Polk County, the real issues. The other part of that is our libraries have a cooperative with our school districts. Your student can go to a library, get a free library pass, have the library on their phone, and download any book they want. We need parents engaged in what their children are doing. I can tell you their phones are a problem. They're not downloading books from the library, I assure you. That's not what they're downloading. So I need parents engaged. And at the same time, follow our policies. The one book, at the one copy of the pictures of the body that's at Haines City High School, the only one we have in the district. It could have been challenged 11 months ago. And if the school didn't want it there, they could have, if the community that met didn't want it there, they could have taken it out. But instead of doing that, it's been a year of chaos that's led to nothing but division. We have to follow policy. There are books challenged all the time. I don't have to like the content, but I have to follow the law. The law had been reviewed in Indian River. There was precedent in court cases. I have to follow the law. Now I'll help you work on that law. I'll go to Tallahassee with you. We can talk about trying to start, whatever is needed in the state for rating systems, but straight from the DOE, they weren't going to take the books out of the libraries. It starts a landslide you will not be able to stop. And these books literally have been on these shelves for 30 years, some of them. So we need to start talking about real issues and the facts of those. There was a lot of disinformation given about these books. They were available to elementary school children, not true. That they were mandatory reading, not true. Now your parent, as a parent, you can go in and just make those choices for your child. If you don't want them to read about war, if you don't want, whatever you don't want them to see in our libraries, now you can opt out of all of it. If I just opted out of 12 books, it would just keep growing until the librarian would have a locked cabinet with 200 books in it because each of them were offensive. And I get it. I understand that. I have an 11-year-old. I have to watch what she watches on television. It is my personal responsibility is what we're teaching parents and students. And so I'm hoping we can continue this conversation when we start talking about usage of phones, because I cannot control Snapchat and I cannot control Twitter and I cannot control Instagram. And I have students using those and not realizing that if you take pictures on Snapchat of your friends or even yourself and there's nudity involved, you will be charged with a felony. Those things are happening and we've got to work on that. So I think I want to have the conversation. I think we need to talk about systemic change and not, not snap change, because it just wouldn't hold up. It would not have lasted a long time if we just start arresting our librarians. And I don't think that's the intent of Polk County citizens. But thanks for asking. That's a tough question, Curtis. And, I think we need to have delegation members and we need to have school board members that aren't afraid to have tough conversations.
Absolutely. No, thank you for definitely explaining that in a great detail, because it's very important for people to know what's, know what's going on. So with that, I want to say this. I know you have 15 schools within your district. Such as, I name a few, like Arbondale, East Area Adult School, Lake Gibson. What do you believe your district needs to address in its academic goals and programs?
I think our biggest challenge is equity in programs. And I can give you an example. Tenor Rock, we just added 3DE, which is a phenomenal program. The Sheriff's Office is one of our first 3DE partners. And it's kind of an academy-like setting where the kids can be involved in problem solving and strategic thinking on a business side, but that's only available there. Just like that school may not have as many AP courses as other schools. I think we need to work on making sure that kids have what they're seeking to either wear college and career or higher academic for post-secondary college, that we are offering that more of those things at each high school. Because right now we're paying to transport students to areas if they don't have it available at their high school, and we just can't afford. Our transportation is $12 million in the hole before we even start school. So I think making more academies, you saw that with Central Florida Aerospace Academy was only at Kathleen, and we just now are starting it at Winter Haven High School. And Auburndale will be able to take part of that because it's going to be located at the Winter Haven Airport. I think doing more of that And then for the schools that are struggling, we're really intentional on supports, and not just supports on paper and description, really providing the supports, drilling down to the needs of of that school in particular, so they have the supports needed to help students with academic progress. But I think one of my major initiatives would to make sure that we have these academies and these programs available, multiple opportunities in each high school, so our kids aren't traveling outside a district to go to a different school.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And this leads to our last question.
Okay.
And this is a straightforward question. You're on Straight Talk.
Okay.
Why do you think you are better or are a better candidate than your opponent, Jill Sessions?
You know, I don't run negative campaigns. And so I just usually talk about myself, but that is a straightforward question. There is a significant difference in these two campaigns. I am from Polk County, but more than that, I've been a volunteer in this district for 15 years before I ever ran for school board. I have been in the schools when I was employed as a real estate broker. I am in my schools daily to understand the need. You know, I sat with families and held their hands, and we've cried and gone through diagnosis and how we're going to help kids in this county. You know, doing the work and my life's work to help kids is a very different campaign. My opponent, I'm sure, is a lovely person. She says some things that are very alarming to me. She works full-time at Waste Management in Plant City, which I'm sure is a great opportunity to be in facilities. But an education budget is something that is, I cannot even begin to explain the training that it takes in an education budget. But more than that, being the community member that sat through these meetings, joined different committees through the district to understand what we're doing. And she has done none of that. There is no record that she's ever been in any of our schools, not one. And I think that how do you run for office if you've never spent time in the schools? That should be a prerequisite. How can you throw these crazy red herring issues around, and then when you're asked directly, where's the indoctrination? You say, well, it's not here. Or if the shoe fits, wear it. How can that be a response? If you knew what was happening in Polk County Public Schools, you would know the issues we face. You know, to be attacked on my faith, to be attacked that I'm nonpartisan, to be attacked on things that have nothing to do with education has been something I've never, ever faced. I'm the only candidate that's raised money locally, the only candidate that's raised money locally at the level I've been in. I have been endorsed by the Lakeland Business Chamber, the Polk County Builders, the East Area and Lakeland Realtors, along with the teachers and all of the labor staff. All of them have endorsed this campaign because they've seen what I've done over the years in and out of office. And that is a big difference from my opponent. You can be well-intentioned. You can talk about national issues and how your kids, whatever they dealt with in Hillsborough County. But if you're not involved in Polk County, we are the largest or the second largest employer in this county. We employ over 10,000 teachers. You have to know what's happening here. And I think that's the biggest difference in these campaigns. I don't have outside dark PAC money. I don't have money for television commercials. I'm hoping the work I've done in this county and the families that I've helped will be what takes me to win on Tuesday. And if it doesn't, Curtis, I'm going to go back to nonprofit work for kids. If my opponent loses, she'll be back in Plant City's waste management department. It's completely two different worlds. And I think it's very evident to the people who want to look at that.
Wow, thank you so much for that. And also, Lisa, I want to give you or extend this opportunity to share any closing statements that you would like.
We've gone over a lot, Curtis. I enjoy these straight talks. I love what I do. I've done this for a long time. I've never made kids partisan pawns. It's not in me. I have to stand in the middle in Tallahassee and work on legislation. And I've done that very successfully with all of our delegation members and presidents of the Senate. I work on solutions, and I think that's what sets me apart. I know where we are in this district. I know where we need to go with our new strategic plan, but I also work to create solutions and not jump to every hot topic or hot button. These kids deserve the best. They deserve somebody who will fight for them. And that's what I do. That's what I've done for a long time. I love graduations. I love to see our kids. And I think the new goal we're going to see is not only graduation, but where they go after graduation. We have some great academies that are getting kids certified to go right into employment. And I think that's a huge gain for Polk County to break the circle of poverty. We've got to offer kids an opportunity for gainful employment. This is my life's work. And I hate to say passion, this is my passion and it's my life's work, and I'll continue to do it in or out of office. I just hope that the Polk County voters see me through another term.
Awesome. And where can people, when is the voting, and what
Okay.
time, from what time to what time?
Okay, so early voting is happening right now through Saturday. It ends Saturday at 6 p.m. So if you go to millerforpolk.com, Miller for Polk number 4, Miller, the number 4 Polk.com, you can see all the early voting locations. There's 2 in Lakeland and there's 1 in Winter Haven and some of the larger municipalities. And it's from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. through Saturday. And that helps a lot of people who work and can't make it to the polls. Tuesday, you'll have no voting Sunday and Monday. And then Tuesday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at your precinct. And check now, because, you know, we've had some redistricting and things moved around. So go to the polkelections.com website and put in your address, and you can find where your voting precinct is if you're going to vote on Tuesday. But you don't have to wait until Tuesday. You can take your driver's license to any of the early voting locations and vote between now and Saturday.
Well, first, I just want to thank you, Lisa Miller, for agreeing to speak with me today. Your decision to run and commitment to serve is already a great token of your care for our community and institutions. I want to wish you well as you continue to close out your campaign in the next few days, and wish you great luck should you be afforded to be the trust of the voters to serve again.
Thanks,
I want to
Curtis.
thank.
I really enjoyed this.
Oh, absolutely. And then also to you, the people that are watching this, I want to thank you and everyone who's have tuned in. If you have a child, grandchild, godchild, niece, or nephew in Polk schools, please share this discussion. If you know a teacher or a parent in Polk County, share this video with them. My hope is you all walk away with a better idea about who our local candidates are and how they will lead. Check us out on Facebook page, Curtis Gibson. You can also subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, Straight Talk with Curtis Gibson.